The federal immigration enforcement operations in Los Angeles, along with ongoing tensions, lawsuits, and legal challenges, all of which come at cost, have created quite a state of affairs in LA. And just as the city revs up for some big global events, too. It's a pivotal moment for the city. Just one reason I'm happy to be joined by LA City Councilmember representing the 7th Council District is Councilmember Monica Rodriguez. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me in.
It's great to have you, especially as we talk about some huge issues facing this city. When you take measure of the moment for Los Angeles, what do you see?
We're certainly confronted with multiple challenges all at the same time. Yeah. You know, we had just the recent water main bursts in the North San Fernando Valley. We're still in recovery from the Palisades fire, but also we're confronting some significant challenges with our fiscal crisis here in the city of Los Angeles. So we've got no shortage of problems to solve.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, and happy to hear the water is back, not drinkable there, but that's an important note for everyone at home who's experiencing that, especially in that heat. That was really difficult. Right. You talk about the budget crisis. I mean, there's a lot happening there, and I suppose let's just talk about the way in which we find ourselves in this shortfall situation, resolved to some degree, obviously with some maneuvering, some cuts coming from Mayor Bass's proposal. You didn't like that idea. Talk about the way that this budget process has gone.
Well, a budget is supposed to be reflective of your values, and one of the challenges that I continue to see with the budget is the lack of transparency with how dollars are being expended with respect to homelessness. Those cuts were nominal in comparison to the severity of the impacts that so many other agencies were affected in the city of Los Angeles. Namely, youth homelessness is on the rise, and youth are now confronted, especially with these ICE raids. In many cases, they're now becoming the head of households. We need to support young people where they are, more so now than ever, and yet the mayor eliminated the youth development department in her budget. Seniors are the growing population of those becoming homeless, yet her budget eliminated the Department of Aging. Small businesses and business owners and individuals seeking employment opportunities are continuing to find themselves in a city that isn't really hospitable to a business environment, and yet the Economic Development and Workforce Department was also eliminated. So I think there are some challenges with meeting what everyday Angelenos need in this moment, and yet the budget wasn't reflective of that, and yet so many dollars that are unaccountable for with respect to homelessness remained untouched, and that's where my concerns lie.
Understandable concerns, the homelessness issue, a huge one. When we've seen unaccounted for spending with LAHSA, the county pulling its funds out, the city council exploring doing the same, propping up a Bureau of Homelessness Oversight, I understand. I saw a little shrug there. You're cynical about it.
I am, because again, it's rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic. You haven't done anything to change the source of the data that you're actually getting. So what does it matter if you set up a bureau that is reporting out the numbers that you can't even trust the source? It's a really big problem. And when we can't even get that data factually and in timely manner from the mayor's office with their operations that are being conducted with Inside Safe, it begs the question, what are you actually measuring if the data that you're getting is something you can't even really trust?
So there's an ongoing conversation about LA City's propping up its own homelessness services authority the way the county has.
That was my motion.
Okay, yes. So let's talk about it. The chair of the Homelessness and Housing Committee, Ithia Rahman, has been on the show. She says the city is not necessarily staffed or resources to take that on. That's one reason LAHSA was created in the first place as part of a court settlement between the county and the city, and the judge set it up. Of course, there's been some issues. County moves out. Do you agree or not? It sounds like you don't, of course, that the city can handle it. You think they can?
Well, I think the city currently pays extraordinary amounts of money to outsource a lot of that work already. So why not retain it in-house and do the work and actually have individuals that are accountable for those taxpayer dollars? I've been incredibly disappointed that Ms. Rahman has actually slow-walked my motions getting scheduled for those conversations. And while she says publicly, well, I'm not, I'm open to the conversation, both she and the mayor have both said, well, we don't want to centralize this. Well, that's ironic because the mayor has attempted to centralize that work in her own office, and yet we're not getting real-time and accountable data for the money and the contracts that are being awarded with that work.
You talk about some of the services that have been cut. Obviously, everyone has priorities. You want to have government able to provide services where possible. But with the lack of revenues that we've seen for various reasons, federal funds, we've been talking about some of that with the Trump administration, where should the money come from then? Some things need to get cut, and homelessness is an issue which we've talked about for many years in Los Los Angeles. For 2 years, year over year, again, there's some question about the data and the full numbers, but overall, it appears to be trending in the right direction.
But again, I can't even still trust those numbers. And the problem with LAHSA, and I know there were, one of my colleagues, Mr. Harris Dawson, was here saying, no one questioned the numbers when they were going in the other direction, and that's actually false. I've been questioning the numbers, in fact, even held up the release of the homeless count during COVID because they were false, they were incorrect, and the statistical multipliers that are used are not consistent in the manner that they've been calculating. So I have, in fact, been pushing back on this data for a number of years, and it's miraculously trending in a different direction. However, the redundancies and the failures to perform among certain service providers, there's been no recalibration or change in the efforts and who gets funding to do that work.
And to back up some of what you're saying, the RAND Corporation has also said, look, I mean, there's some issues with the LAHSA count. When they've done their own counts in specific neighborhoods, they've said we're not seeing the same degree of change. Maybe they're all trending in the same direction, but degree of change. There's some issues with methodology, perhaps. Right. And we can talk about that for another day. Important to raise the issues for the folks at home, and I appreciate that. Another thing that's happening is a lack of trust by institutional forces in the city, in city council, and maybe the mayor's ability to represent their interests. In part, I'm talking about this labor-business showdown that is now resulting in a war of potential ballot measures, which is suggesting to some folks that city government can't get it done, and therefore both labor and business, here Local 11, airline and hotel industries are going straight to the voters. What do you make of all this?
I think it's really reckless to be pursuing initiatives like this, and I framed it as the War of the Roses. Leaders have the ability, and the mayor, historically, the role of the mayor is to help convene those two parties and help broker a compromise.
And the compromise, we should just say for the folks, is a minimum wage hike for hotel and airline workers in anticipation of the Olympics, although it began back with the pandemic. These workers are saying, here Local 11 workers are saying, we need $30 an hour to live. And the City Council voted in favor with the mayor signing off. You voted against it.
I voted against it because the reality is you're looking at a business environment that is still struggling, still hasn't recovered. Those numbers were also based off a false notion that we have recovered in our tourism dollars, and we have not. And so you're adding greater burden. When you add, it's like anyone else in their household. If you add more to your cost than what you're bringing in, you're going to be upside down. And we're seeing hotels that have already closed. We've seen job losses already, and we know from our own airport management that the airlines have not recovered in the number. And frankly, we know that some of the initiatives of the Trump administration have contributed to ailing our tourism industry. So while I would love to give everybody everything that they ask for, the reality is that we don't have a business climate that can sustain it. And so we have to create an environment that is hospitable to giving people both good quality job and a well-paying job, but the job has to exist and the business has to exist in order for that to happen. And so my concern was, I said, I didn't want us to have the best paid unemployed workforce in the country by approving raises that were unable to be sustained by the businesses that were being required to.
Well, so the $30 an hour does happen, though, as of May. And now the businesses are saying, we're going to go to the voters and we're going to repeal that. And here Local 11 and the workers are saying, well, we're going to also go and we're going to say $30 for everybody in one ballot measure. And another ballot measure is we're going to raise taxes on businesses. And then the business saying, okay, well, we're going to have a ballot measure that says we're going to repeal all taxes. I mean, where does this go? And also, what does it say about the state of government?
I think it's presenting some real clear challenges that, again, we need the grown-ups to be in the room and negotiate some finer points. We need colleagues that are not going to be bullied and intimidated by one side or another, and so that we can have authentic and real conversations about how do we sustain this Los Angeles for everyone, to be able to not just create an environment where they can have businesses here. We are definitely going to be impacted with our business tax, and we also want to create an environment that actually provides workers what they deserve. But if the businesses can't exist in Los Angeles, well, everyone loses.
In the past, mayors and Mayor Garcetti has received some credit for this, has managed to work with the businesses while minimum wage has been increased to stagger it. How do you feel Mayor Bass has been doing with this?
I believe there hasn't been a conversation that actually invited both parties into one room to do that in advance of the last negotiation. I think given what we're being presented with now, I think conversations are starting to ensue. But the reality is we represent multiple interests in the city of Los Angeles, and we have to work to create a local economy that works for everyone. And so my hope is that there's going to be far greater effort to helping to invite all parties to the table, not just one side.
So, and there's a big conversation about labor's growing power with the city council allies,
right.
and just in general in a city that is moving more towards that sort of labor, that sort of service-oriented labor, because business, it's a difficult climate, it's inhospitable. Do you feel like that's true? Do you feel like this is the way that business is feeling it can get its attention of city council to bring these ballot measures to the people?
I think, again, it goes back to what is the support that we're providing as a city to businesses being able to succeed in Los Angeles to create those jobs. And I believe, and I believe in creating, I believe in labor and the work that they do. I come from a labor household. However, we need to make sure that the jobs exist. And I want to create an environment which incents greater investment in Los Angeles, not deters it.
Well, I know you also care a lot about financial literacy. There's a new hub, and I'm just going to tell the people at home, because we're out of time, but that you've been spearheading this, and that is to get the kids going, get young people going on financial literacy, which is so important. And perhaps it helps then those people grow up to balance budgets better. And maybe they'll be city council members. I don't know.
Right. I'm going to offer it to them as well.
Councilmember Rodriguez, thank you so much for coming in. Great to have this conversation. Hope to have more of them with you.
Thank you.
Okay, great to have you. Councilmember Rodriguez is talking a bit about what's happening in LA City Council. Obviously, much happening with budgets and more.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage. And click the subscribe button here. You can also download our app and watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.